Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Om Aganda Timarandasya Ganajana Shivakaya Chakshur Umulitam Yena Tajma Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Hare Krishna. The following video series is a summary of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam was translated into English by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Also included are His in-depth commentaries known as purports. These purports unpack the often complex and symbolic language of the text, making it understandable to a wider audience. The Srimad Bhagavatam, also known as the Bhagavata Purana, is considered the most important of sacred scriptures. Composed around 5,000 years ago, it is considered the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic literature and the original commentary on the Vedanta-sutra. The author of Srimad Bhagavatam is Srila Vyasadeva. He is also the compiler of the Vedas, classified as a Purana, a vast genre of ancient stories and knowledge encompassing history, philosophy, and spiritual teachings. Srimad Bhagavatam includes stories of avatars, creation narratives, lives of saints and sages, philosophy discourses, and practical guidance for spiritual life. Divided into 12 cantos with over 18,000 verses covering 10 subject matters. 1. The elemental creation. 2. The secondary creation. 3. The planetary systems. 4. Protection by the Lord. 5. The creative impetus. 6. Manvatars. 7. The science of God. 8. The dissolution. 9. Liberation. And 10. The supreme shelter. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila, chapter 25, text 143 and 144, Lord Chaitanya, speaking to Pracetas Saraswati, tells him. Translation. The meaning of the Vedanta-sutra is present in Srimad Bhagavatam. The full purport of the Mahabharata is also there. The commentary of the Brahma Gayatri is also there and fully expanded with all Vedic knowledge. Srimad Bhagavatam is the Supreme Purana. It was compiled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His incarnation as Vyasadeva. There are 12 cantos, 335 chapters, and 18,000 verses. Canto 4, chapters 24 through 31. Narada's instruction to King Pracinabarhi. Chapter 24. Chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva. After describing the life and character of Maharaj Prithu in the previous chapter, the great sage Maitreya began to speak about the sons and grandsons and the genealogical line of the Prithu dynasty. After the death of Maharaj Prithu, his eldest son, Vijitsva, became emperor of the world. Vijitsva's son was Havidharna, whose son was Barisat. Maitreya then tells Vidura that Lord Shiva instructed the Pracetas, King Barisat's sons, when they set out to perform austerities on their father's order. Vidura wanted to hear Lord Shiva's instructions, which is in the Bhagavatam and are known as the Rudra Gita, the song sung by Lord Shiva. Maitreya recites the Rudra Gita, which takes up most of this chapter. In the chapter's remaining text, he delineates the glorious results one achieves when one chants or reads Lord Shiva's prayers with attention and reverence. A verse from chapter 24 is text 57. Krishnarde na petulaye nasvargam na punarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya maryanam kim utasisa. Translation. If one by chance associates with a devotee, even for a fraction of a moment, he is no longer subject to the attraction of the results of karma or jnana. What interest then can he have in benedictions of the demigods, who are subject to the laws of birth and death. Chapter 25, the descriptions of the characteristics of King Puraïjana. When King Bharisat was considering retiring from royal duties, he sent his sons to perform austerities in order to become perfect kings for the welfare of the citizens. At the same time, King Bharisat was being instructed by the great sage Narada about the material world and the living entity who wants to enjoy in it. The monarchical hierarchy of King Bharisat comes from Maharaj Dhruva, a great devotee of the Lord and the most celebrated disciple of Narada Muni. King Bharisat was then too much engaged in fruitive activities due to performing different types of yagnas. When the great sage Narada saw a descendant of Maharaj Dhruva was being misled by fruitive activities, Narada took compassion on him and personally came to instruct him about the ultimate benediction of life, Bhakti Yoga. How Narada Muni indirectly introduced the Bhakti Yoga system to King Bharisat using an allegorical story is described in this chapter. A verse from chapter 25 is text 56. Evam karmasu samsakya karmatma vanchito buddha mahisi yadyad ihesa tattat evan vatvartata. Translation. Being thus engaged in different types of mental concoction and engaged in fruitive activities, King Puraïjana came completely under the control of material intelligence and was thus cheated. Indeed, he used to fulfill all the desires of his wife, the queen. Chapter 26, King Puranjana goes to the forest to hunt, and his queen becomes angry. Narada Muni continues the story of King Puranjana. This is nothing but the history of King Bharisat told in a different way. In other words, this is an allegorical presentation. King Puranjana, though powerful and wealthy, was constantly searching for material pleasures. He was obsessed with worldly desires and neglected his spiritual development. King Puranjana, armed with his bow and arrows, embarked on a hunting expedition in the forest. He was so engrossed in his pursuit of animals that he neglected his royal duties and his family. The king's absence and neglect caused great distress to his queen. She became angry and frustrated, feeling abandoned and unloved. She expresses her displeasure, highlighting the foolishness of his actions and his impertinence of material pleasures. A verse from chapter 26 is text number 5. Asuram vrityam ashritya gotrat maniranlugraha nahanam nishitayar banar vanesuvana gocharam. Translation. At that time, King Puranjana was very much influenced by demoniac propensities. Because of this, his heart became very hard and merciless, and with sharp arrows, he killed many innocent animals in the forest, taking no consideration. Chapter 27. Attack by Candavega on the city of King Puranjana, the character of Kalakanya. Narada continues to describe how King Puranjana, endowed with proper intelligence, performed pious acts, but became afflicted by old age and disease, which is described through another story, Jara, the daughter of time. This chapter delves deeper into the story of King Puranjana, highlighting his descent into the material entanglement. Despite his potential for spiritual growth, he becomes increasingly captivated by sensual pleasures. Puranjana becomes deeply attached to his queen and material possessions. He neglects his spiritual duties and spends his time in luxurious pursuits. Lost in the pleasures of the senses, Puranjana fails to realize the fleeting nature of time. He becomes oblivious to the passage of time and was gaining no lasting value from his activities. A verse from chapter 27 is text 25. Devavi ma vanuso chanti balavasad avagraha yaloka sastropanatam narati natad ichati. Translation. One who does not give charity according to the customs of the injunctions of the scriptures, and who does not accept charity in that way are considered to be in the mode of ignorance. Such persons follow the path of the foolish. Surely they must lament at the end. Chapter 28. Puranjana becomes a woman in the next life. Narada Muni continues the allegorical story. The method of giving up the gross body is described until the 24th verse. The soldiers are various diseases. The period of life just prior to death is certainly very dangerous, because usually at this time people are attacked by the weakness of old age as well as many kinds of diseases. Because he remembered his wife at the time of death, and because of the many pious activities he had performed throughout his life, the king took his next birth as Vidarbhi, the beautiful daughter of the king of Vidarbha. When Vidarbhi grew up, she married Mayala Vidya, a powerful Vaishnava king. After giving birth to many sons, King Malaya Vidya and the Queen Vidarbhi retired to the forest. Fixing his mind on the Supreme Lord, Lord Malaya Vidya gave up his body. Vidarbhi, lamenting the loss of her husband, prepared a blazing fire with firewood and placed the dead body of her husband upon it. As Vidarbhi prepared to renounce her body by giving it to her husband's funeral pyre, a Brahmin, King Puraïjana's old friend, suddenly arrived and spoke sweetly to the queen. A verse from chapter 28 is text 53. Api smarshi chatmanam avigyanat sakam sake hitvamam padmam avichan bhaumag mugaratogata. Translation. The Brahmin continued, My dear friend, even though you cannot immediately recognize me, can't you remember that in the past you had a very intimate friend? Unfortunately, you gave up my company and accepted a position as enjoyer of this material world. Chapter 29. Talks between Narada and King Pracinabarhi. Narada told the king that Puranjana represents every conditioned soul regardless of the specific body it habits that possesses an enjoying spirit. The unknown friend is the supersoul. Narada's next attack on the king's ritualistic practices was to explain that his sacrifices were adverse to the development of Krishna consciousness. Narada then directed King Pracetas toward his real self-interest of entering the supreme spiritual abode. When King Pracetas heard Narada's powerful words, he remembered how his previous teachers instructed him to perform ritualistic basic activities and seek temporary heavenly pleasure. Narada's instruction, on the other hand, are fully spiritual, based on the living entity's eternal service to Krishna. A verse from chapter 29 is text 38. Sotri rad eva rajarse shad atuta kata shraya Shrivata Shraddha Hanasya Nityadasyad Ahiyata. Translation. O best of kings, one who is faithful, who is always hearing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always engaged in the culture of Krishna consciousness and in hearing of the Lord's activities, very soon becomes eligible to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Chapter 30. The activities of the Pracetas. Vidura wanted to know from Maitreya, what boon did the Pracetas obtain by their austerities and praising the Lord? After hearing the Rudra Gita, the Pracetas worshipped Lord Siva with respect and entered the calm lake waters to begin practicing severe austerities. There they again and again recited the prayers that they had learned as they stood in the water for 10,000 years, and eventually they were able to satisfy Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord said, I am so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of me. The Lord then asked them to marry the daughter of Pramlocha. He then gives them the benediction that they will have a nice son. The Lord then blessed them. My princess, by my mercy, you can enjoy all the facilities of this world as well as the heavenly world. Thereafter, you will develop unadulterated devotional service unto me and will attain my abode. A verse from chapter 30 is text 35. Yatre dayate katamritas Krishnaya pram samoyata Nirvairam yata bhutesu Novego yatra kaschana. Translation. Whenever pure topics of the transcendental world are discussed, the members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings, at least for the time being. Not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another, nor do they suffer from anxiety or fear. Chapter 31. Narada instructs the Pracetas. The great sage Maitreya continued. After the Pracetas had finished their penances, they were blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord blessed them by telling them that after finishing their family life, they would be able to enter the abode of the Supreme Lord. After finishing their family life, which lasted thousands of years according to the calculations of the demigods, the Pracetas decided to leave home, putting their wife in charge of a son named Daksa. Going to the seashore, the Pracetas practiced yogasana for mystic yoga. While they were practicing this pranayama, the great sage Narada, who was worshipped by both the demons and the demigods, came to see them. Hearing from Narada's mouth the glories of the Lord, which vanquished all the ill fortune of the world, the Pracetas also became attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Meditating on his lotus feet, they advanced to the ultimate destination. A verse from chapter 31 is text 14. Yatta taror mula nisechanena tripyati tat saktad pujo pasakaha pranopa harakcha yatedriyanam dayaiva sarvaharam achuteyad. Translation. As pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and the limbs of the body, simply worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods, who are parts of that Supreme Personality.